Everyone, the Red Sox cannot mess up what they have going for themselves right now. They just cannot mess up the things they're trying to build in Boston. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Red Sox for the 2025 season and really beyond, because this past offseason has put the Red Sox in such a position to sustain long-term success. Potentially, even this time next year, the Red Sox can even be a more formidable team. Is very exciting, a sight for sore eyes, especially the last few off seasons the Red Sox have had. With the Red Sox finally looked at as legitimate threats in the American League East again. Last season was more of a fun season. It was the idea that a lot of guys kind of played with a chip on their shoulder. Jarren Duran had himself a breakout season. Players like Tanner Houck and Cutter Crawford really kind of broke into their own as well on the pitching side. Obviously, the second half of the season was a different story, but the first half of the season, you can look at that Red Sox team and look at them as a competitive team. They obviously soared past expectations going into last season, but obviously at the end of this offseason, it's entirely different story. The Red Sox are expected to be a far better team. They already have a great young crop of talent. They brought in a lot of key names to really bolster the roster, have great prospects on the way, and they are in position to potentially get another young superstar to kind of pair up with this window and this core that the Red Sox are building. I've been critical of the Red Sox in the past, and obviously it's from as a fan and it's passion. No secret that I love the Red Sox, and especially when it seems like your favorite team loves you back. Trying to put the best product on the field, be in a position to compete and be in a position to win. I just want to put out, if you guys do like the content coming at you, really appreciate any and all support. Comment your thoughts down below. Baseball season is just a few short weeks away. Bunch of content coming your guys' way. If you guys are new here, subscribe. We would love to have you. And check us out on VedettaSportsMedia.com to stay up to date with all your favorite sports. This place is growing and we'd love for you to be a part of it. All right, back to the Red Sox. The Red Sox are slotted in for long-term success, but that comes with stability. That's the most important thing about all this. You look at the very top of the food chain when it comes to the Red Sox in terms of the on-the-field product, it is Rafael Devers. Rafi Devers has been a top 3 third baseman in the game for years now. And Rafael Devers is one of the elite offensive players in the game of baseball, and he goes kind of under the radar, especially with the fact he's more of a quiet, reserved player. He's been the king of consistency ever since he really broke into the league. Year in and year out, he's been fantastic with the bat. Last season, he was going through lingering injuries, but even on a down year, he was still putting up great numbers. But the Red Sox locked him up, and that was one of the the good things they did, more so because of fan backlash, because of the idea of losing another pillar of Red Sox baseball with trading Mookie Betts and losing Xander Bogaerts. Red Sox fans did not want to lose Rafael Devers. So the Red Sox signed him pretty much for the rest of his career. You have the face of the franchise established. Now it's looking around to the other players and look for the rest of the roster to be able to push this roster forward and push this team forward to inevitably try to make it back to the World Series and, of course, win. And they made some smart moves. They made moves in terms of extending some of their young players, like Ceddanne Rafaela, extending him through, I believe, 2032, and obviously still being a very, very raw player, being a fantastic defensive outfielder. Him playing center field for the entire season, I'm happy that they're going that route. I feel like that's his best position to play, and he gets the most value out of playing center field, and it just allows that outfield to be more athletic, more consistently, because moving Jarren Duran to left field, I think that outfield is going to be very fun to watch, especially with Willie Abreu as well, who won the Gold Glove in right field. Brian Bayo, he was also extended pretty early as well, and he's going to be a consistent face in that Red Sox rotation. And while he hasn't had a full-on breakout, he's had spurts and he's had great stretches throughout his young career. I'm hoping that 2025 treats him really well, and hopefully it's a breakout season for him. Also, not to mention the prize of having Chaim Bloom as the president of baseball operations for a few years was the crop of young talent that he was able to bring in through trades. Obviously, talking about some of the big names, Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony, along with Marcelo Meyer, are slated to be a part of the Major League roster in the next couple of seasons. Even as early as this year, Roman Anthony, of course, was labeled as the top prospect in baseball for a time. It seems like all 3 of the players I mentioned have just untapped potential and have like the ceiling is like non-existent for a lot of those guys, or for all 3 I should say. Now, of course, maintaining some of the familiar faces and kind of locking up some of the young homegrown talent. And of course, being excited for, the new crop of talent is going to be entering the league in the next couple of seasons. And hopefully seeing bounce backs from guys like Tristan Casas to see another full season out of him. And hopefully Trevor Story has an injury-free season to kind of truly see what Trevor Story is made of in Boston. This past offseason was very telling. It's the idea that this past offseason they made a plan to add to the roster and make it even more formidable. Obviously, the first big move they made was bringing in Garrett Crochet, pair him along with Tanner Houck, undisputedly the Red Sox ace last year. Trading for Garrett Crochet was a game changer, and hopefully he's at the top of the Red Sox rotation for years to come. Walker Buehler as well, signing him on a one-year deal, coming off of a World Series win with the Dodgers, of course, and having a full season under his belt away from, the Tommy John and away from the injuries. And hopefully he can carry that playoff momentum that he garnered pitching great in the postseason. Getting some help for the bullpen. Obviously, Liam Hendricks is going to be on his way back. They let Kenley Jansen go, so the Red Sox are kind of out of an established closer at the moment. It's kind of up for grabs for some of these guys in spring training. The Red Sox signed Aroldis Chapman to a one-year deal, and he's still pumping over 100 miles an hour, and I think he's going to be nasty. Also, Garrett Whitlock is going to be coming back from injury. Putting him back in the bullpen, I think, is the best place for him, and I think that's where he plays his best baseball. I've been saying this for years now, and it still seems like they're still on the lookout for adding another reliever, and that could be through, signing or through a trade, which I think a trade might be more likely. And the idea of adding more talent to the pitching side, and which was something that the Red Sox kind of had to do. Again, for the second half of the season, the Red Sox had the second worst pitching staff in all of baseball, which was a big reason why they didn't make the playoffs or didn't really sniff the wild card. And with the offseason that they had, if the Red Sox stopped there, they would have had, pretty much a pitcher-oriented offseason or a pitching-oriented offseason. They went out and got Alex Bregman for the offense. And I don't care what anybody says. Obviously, I had my opinions about bringing Bregman in. But the way the contract was set up, it felt like it suited both parties, especially if Bregman balls out, he can just opt out. And that's kind of the thing that kind of not necessarily worries me, but that's just, a point of concern for me. I feel like a lot of people were just happy at the fact that they landed someone like Bregman. And don't get me wrong, I think Bregman makes this team a lot better. I know people were throwing around the term that he has great leadership quality. I look at him, he's a winning player, one of the faces of the franchise in Houston. Overall, I do like the signing. Just being able to even have him for a season could probably speak volumes. And I think playing in Boston is going to do him very well. No matter whether he plays at third or he plays at second, which is obviously was a point of concern for a lot of people, even Rafael Devers included. But I don't see that being a problem, especially the way Alex Bregman has gone about it. He wants to win. As a fan, you love to hear that. You don't want to see tension going into the season, especially with more lofty expectations going into the year, especially with the talent that they brought in, as well as kind of just the window they're in with Rafael Devers. But I think Bregman raises their ceiling and definitely raises the potential of that Red Sox offense going into the year. They needed right-handed production. They needed consistent right-handed production. That was the important thing. And they got that and then some, bringing somebody in like Alex Bregman. Even if it's just 1 year in Boston, he's going to absolutely mash. And obviously discussing a lot about how the Red Sox are looking going into next season, even looking a bit past that and looking at the reports and talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. could not get an extension with the Blue Jays done. The reports were that there was a lot, they were still very far off on money, and it looks like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a free agent come next year. And of course, the Red Sox are favorites to land him, and it's even been reported that the Red Sox are the preferred destination for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the Bregman signing, which mentioned the deferred money. Even though he signed a 3-year, $120 million contract, a bunch of that yearly salary is going to be deferred and could potentially open the gateway to bring in somebody like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. The Red Sox have also stated they have room for one more lucrative contract alongside Rafael Devers. I think the Red Sox landing someone like Vladdy next year would just put that team over the top and kind of solidify that team for the next few years. It's the idea, it's the commitment to the fan base that they are committed to winning and bringing in players like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's going to be just entering his prime by the time of signing. But again, that is just speculation at this point. Vladdy still has to play out the final year of his deal. It's just the potential that the Red Sox could bring in another young star, pretty much create an offensive duo with Rafael Devers and whoever the Red Sox bring in, whether it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or somebody else. The Red Sox are playing with house money at the moment, and they have a lot of things going in their favor. But it's just that potential of things to fall the other way. The organization could fall into disarray again. And while they're in prime position to really capitalize and create something, there's also ways that they can ruin it. The first thing is waiting to extend key players. You have Tristan Casas, who's a 2029 free agent. Jarren Duran is a 2029 free agent. Garrett Crochet is a 2027 free agent. Tanner Houck is a 2028 free agent, and I'm sure there's other players I'm missing. And I might even be off a year or two when it comes to some of these players in terms of free agency as well. Between now and by 2030, a lot of key players on the Red Sox are going to be free agents, or they're going to be due for extensions. If Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony are studs, they're going to be due for extensions further down the line. But for players like that, you want to sign those guys early. And again, a lot of people will argue like, oh, they got time. They got time to extend players, time to kind of see the talent that they have and how much money they want to invest with some of these guys. Like Jarren Duran, for example, he had himself a great breakout season last year. The important thing is, would he be able to sustain something like that? Obviously, I think he will. I think he kind of broke through and he's kind of just not looking back. That's the decisions they're going to have to make. I don't think they should be testing the water and waiting until the final year of arbitration and then to decide to want to try to extend them, because I think they're just going to run into a whole influx of a lot of guys going to be due money, and then they may have to make some tough decisions. Casas is another example. Obviously, the Red Sox and him have been in extension talks, but doesn't seem like anything's going to be imminent. And especially touching upon this now, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a first baseman. Tristan Casas is a first baseman. What does that do for Tristan Casas' situation? You know, this new crop of talent and the influx of talent potentially for the Red Sox over the course of the next few years. There's going to be some movement in terms of, you know, the on-the-field product for guys at certain positions. And the idea is, if you're trying to bring someone like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in, obviously you would assume Tristan Casas is going to be expendable at that point, right? But I think the problem is the Red Sox probably will want to wait to see if they're able to sign someone like Vladdy and then trade Casas. But I would still think it's just a weird situation, because if he plays good, his value goes up. That's great. If he plays bad, then it's at that point where teams may not look at him as valuable as he was maybe a year or two earlier. I think Tristan Casas is a tremendous player, and I think he has the potential to be a tremendous player. I think if he can start having some healthy seasons, again, he's still really young in his career. But again, it depends how much the Red Sox value someone like that. And you guys let me know in the comments, would you rather have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or would you rather see what you have out of Tristan Casas? But again, I guess that's a good problem to have, because Tristan Casas is a free agent for a few years, but also Vladimir Guerrero wants to play for your team. I think you get somebody like Vladimir Guerrero to play for your team. And also, this kind of goes into my next point with the Red Sox not capitalizing on the turnover of talent. The Red Sox are in a very good position. That has been something I reiterated so much throughout this video already. Have guys like Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell coming up. You sign someone like Alex Bregman. For the sake of argument, he's going to be with the Red Sox for the next 3 years. You already have Rafael Devers. You have someone like Willie Abreu, Vaughn Grissom coming into his own as a ball player. You have Jarren Duran, and on the pitching side, you already have guys like Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck, and among others. But with guys like Campbell and Anthony, those guys are going to need positions to play. And obviously someone like Roman Anthony, for example, he may command right field or center field. Then what do you do? Let's say right field. What do you do for Willie Abreu? What if Willie Abreu's too good for just to be a guy who's just a utility man to come off the bench every once in a while? The Red Sox send Garrett Crochet and then, you know, start locking up their pitching staff. Maybe they bring Walker Buehler back, or just like an influx of pitching talent coming up through the pipeline. Where does that leave someone like Cutter Crawford? Let's say Christian Campbell plays second base, but the Red Sox still have Bregman. They probably want to slide him to third and may have no choice but to move Devers to either first base or have him DH. What does that mean for Masataka Yoshida, who's somebody else they've tried to trade as well? The thing I think about when it comes to the Red Sox and their potential situation in that regard, that the Red Sox have a lot of great pieces just to the wrong puzzle. I think some of these pieces could do better for other teams or be far more valuable to other teams, and I'm pretty sure rival teams understand that. Especially if Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony are both studs, then you have no choice but to put them into the lineup every day. And obviously the whole situation with Rafael Devers not wanting to move off third base, I think there's going to be a time where he kind of has no choice to. Leaves guys like Willie Abreu, Masataka Yoshida, Vaughn Grissom, and also with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or someone potentially occupying first base like Rafael Devers, that leaves Tristan Casas as well. That's 4 names already that could be labeled expendable and could potentially get you more pieces or potentially land you that superstar if it's not Vladimir Guerrero Jr. There's a lot of good going for the Red Sox right now. Obviously, a lot of people in the fan base are happy. Obviously, people in baseball are very intrigued about what the Red Sox can do this year. I think the Red Sox are going to be real players in the American League East again. I think they even have a great opportunity to capitalize and win the division altogether, but I do see them returning to the playoffs this year. I think the Red Sox have a lot of great things going for them, a lot of the young talent that's going to be coming up, and the great core of guys they have already, and obviously spearheaded by Rafael Devers and bringing in guys like Garrett Crochet, bringing in veterans like Aroldis Chapman, and obviously bringing winning players in like Alex Bregman, with the potential of guys like Trevor Story and Tristan Casas bouncing back. Sky's the limit for the Red Sox this coming year. And it's also thinking about the Red Sox in the next few years, how they can really hone in on that core, kind of identify the key players and then build around that and potentially bring in superstars to, stand side by side with Rafael Devers in that lineup to create the modern day David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez dynamic. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. How do you feel about the Red Sox going into the 2025 season? And how do you think about the Red Sox going into the future? Or let me know why your favorite team is probably in a better position than the Red Sox at the moment. Baseball is back, and we got a lot of great stuff coming you guys' way. Also, check out VedettaSportsMedia.com to stay up to date with all your favorite sports. But that's going to do it for me, and I'll catch you guys next time.